Welcome to the celebration of the Pentacam's 20th anniversary. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it so much. Just a couple quick notes and couple quick shout-outs. Most of you know this, but Oculus is a fourth-generation family-owned company. It's been around since 1895. So 127 years later, all these different instruments, 150 different products in the ophthalmic area, distributed in over 80 countries. So it's quite amazing what this family did in just 127 short years. I want to take time to thank everyone in this room. So many of you are part of the continuous improvement of the Pentacam platform and a lot of our other products, but there are two people from Oculus in particular. I'd like to raise your hands and embarrass you just a little bit because you played such a substantial role, and that's Jorg and Andreas. Can you raise your hands? Nice job, guys. Without these two gentlemen, we wouldn't be where we are today with the Pentacam platform and where we're going tomorrow, so it's really, really exciting. So, again, thank you all for coming tonight. I want to say it gives me great pleasure now to introduce the owner and CEO of Oculus, Christian Kirchhuebel. Christian, come on up.
Yeah, good evening, everyone, also from my side. Thank you for being here today with us, celebrating the 20 years of evolution since the first revolutionary Pentacam came to market and helped to change ophthalmology. In this time, we as a team were able to open new doors, enabled by the broad availability of Scheimpflug images. Since then, all cameras are collecting high-quality data supported still by the actual software, which will even be more valuable down the road in the hands of AI experts. The knowledge which was and is created during this time is unbelievable. Procedures, protocols, and performances of average cases have reached extremely high standards during the time frame, also thanks to a fantastic scientific community. I'm very honored that so many great thinkers are with us here today. You help tremendously to challenge existing ways of doing and propose new paths which deliver outstanding results today. We, as a measurement tool manufacturer, focus on quality and precision of our measurement instruments in living samples. Without a continuous rethinking of interpretation of these values, change is impossible. Thank you all for challenging us. This evolution is only possible with open minds and a common cause. 20 years of Pentacams and currently 4 models would have never been possible without this combination. Cheers to 20 years of continuing Pentacam evolution. Cheers. It's my great honor now to introduce Dr. Michael Belin, one of the greatest cornea experts we have today. His way of rethinking shape visualization helped thousands of practitioners every day to make decisions for their patients. One of the world's first Pentacam users, how did you practice change when you acquired your first Pentacam? Thank you.
And I don't even remember how I first got involved with the Pentacam, but I was always a believer in elevation, and it's been 20 years, and just look around the room here, and who would ever have thought 20 years ago we would have a packed room on a device that was measuring elevation. It does so much more now, as you know, with the AXL and the Wave, but it is just a fantastic diagnostic instrument, and you're all listening to me, which is amazing. So I'd like to introduce who's almost my brother. So Renato, your question is, what convinced you 20 years ago to invest in the Oculus Pentacam? It's really a pleasure to introduce Renato. It's my better half.
Well, my family is Renato Ambrósio, and the brother comes from a very small city, very close to Wetzlar, where Oculus is based. So nothing is a coincidence, but I have a family WhatsApp that is Renato Ambrósio, and it used to be an email thing that my family was communicating. So I had a lot of Belin Ambrosio and Brother Ambrosio confusion when I saw these messages. Sometimes it's my uncle giving me some jokes, or sometimes it's a serious thing about work that we have to work. So it's been a true honor to collaborate with Michael and with Oculus. It's a great journey. And long story short, I had some ideas about thickness profile and how the cornea gets thinner towards the center or thicker towards the periphery back when I was a resident, because when I was a resident, some people did a topography in my eye and they said, you have keratoconus. So I decided to study about keratoconus as a personal interest. And I saw Yaron Rabinovit's great paper on survey of ophthalmology, and then Michael's paper that I didn't understand anything that time about elevations with the PAR. And then a few years later, I was involved with topography with Steve Kleiss, Steve Wilson, and then with the Pentacam. And what I was convinced to work with the Pentacam, it was exactly at the Academy in 2003 when I saw the Scheimpflug images. And I remember when I was a fellow, we wanted to study haze. And there was a machine that was only doing one Scheimpflug camera image and measuring the scattering of the cornea for measuring haze. And it was a very interesting machine, but we never were able to study with that because it was very expensive that time. And even the grant that Wilson had in his lab was not enough for supporting that machine because it was only going to do that for the rabbits. And then I thought, so is machine giving you this Scheimpflug image and all these maps later? Oh, that's much better than what I had with the other technology that we had available. And I decided instead of being the easiest path with what was available there, I decided to go with the path for working with the Pentacam. And the main thing that brought me to the Pentacam was actually the openness of Oculus for improving it. I said, I have a little idea of how the cornea gets thicker towards the periphery, and Andreas was keen to listen to that, and I said, I think we can develop. And very soon after we received the Pentacam, we had the first pachymetric progression display that was getting better and better than what we see today. So we were just talking today. We had a meeting at 4 o'clock for talking about the bed 4. So I had bed 4 at 4. So it's nothing a coincidence, but I think we are getting better and better. And it's a true revolution, as Christian very beautifully said. It's a true revolution in evolution. And I'm very honored and grateful for being part of that. Thank you. An honor to introduce Yuri McKee, and his question is, what did your practice look like before utilizing the Pentacam? So I'm very happy to get this answer to Yuri to give. Thank you.
Well, first I want to raise my, metaphoric glass to Renato and Michael, because you've changed how I practice medicine. You really have. So I've been a doctor for 22 years, and I remember sneaking in as a resident to this forbidden room in my program and finding this really cool device that showed me stuff that I could only imagine, and it was a Pentacam. I didn't even know what it was called. I'm pushing buttons and playing with it. I'm not supposed to be in that room. By the time I'm a fellow, this is absolutely fundamental to looking at LASIK workups. So ever since then, it's been there. And I also want to raise a glass to Jorg, who has already been called out, because every meeting and in between meetings, I'm working with him about how do we make this massive amount of data that Pentacam gives us understandable to just a simple farm boy like me from Minnesota. And he's really done it. You're going to see in the short future now some summary screens that really look good to your average cataract surgeon. But I want to share with you a story about what my practice changed like. I saw just not too long ago, about 3 years ago, a young man who came in to see me. He's only 20 years old. People who come to see me are sick. No routine eye exams. I said, well, why are you wasting my time? He said, I was accepted to the Air Force to be a pilot, and they rejected me because someone said I had keratoconus. And I ran the Pentacam. I said, no, you don't. I understand why the people who did that scan thought you had keratoconus, but this shows you don't have it. And it's too late. I'm already disqualified. And long story short, I wrote a letter to the Secretary of the Air Force saying, this is a misdiagnosis. You should give this guy a waiver. I did put a lot of work into this, so he gave me a 21-year bottle of scotch for that work. Thanks, kid. I forgot about this for about a year. And by the way, I used to be an Air Force flight surgeon, so I knew exactly what to say. A year later, there's a bottle of 25-year-old scotch sitting on my desk with a note. And it was a note from the Secretary of the Air Force saying, this guy's approved to be a pilot because of what you wrote to me, because what Michael and Renato and the Oculus team did to prove that someone made a misdiagnosis and this kid can fly planes. I mean, I still have that note on the empty bottle of 25-year-old scotch, okay? So this has fundamentally changed my practice in so many great ways. And I want to thank everyone in this room for being here and supporting it. I want to thank the engineers at Oculus because I work closely with them. They're great guys. You should walk, if you don't know Jorg, go say hi to him. He's a great guy. Bill here, I mean, you know, he's a doctor, right? And he knows his stuff. And it's a pleasure to talk to him. He and I talk about all sorts of stuff, not about the Pentacam, because we get excited. We're just talking about some cool stuff in the future where the hair in the back of our neck stood up. So thank you for being here, and thank you to Oculus, Bill, Jorg, Michael, Renato, everyone here. You know, you're really working with something great here, and I use it every day in my practice for every patient. We have a question. All right, Steve. Oh, how many patients have you done with the Pentacam?
So I'm probably the most recent Pentacam user among the group. Our practice as a whole has done, you know, tens of thousands, over 30 or 40,000 in a single office of scans. But just to echo kind of what everyone said here, I mean, I think back of my first time using the Pentacam was actually as a medical student. I was just kind of tracking on the Scheimpflug images. I was looking at haze, and I was after cross-linking, and I was just dotting, trying to get the densitometry analysis from it, really having very little idea of what I was actually doing at the time, and then found out that Oculus had used some of that and became densitometry analysis that they then took my little dotting but made it much better than I could do. So that kind of shows, though, really Oculus's devotion to, you know, small medical student who has an idea, and then bringing it to just a greater level than anybody can imagine. So they're, you know, echoing everybody here, Jorg and the whole team, Bill, they're willing to always listen to pretty much any idea that they think will work. And that's pretty much why they've been able to build this just amazing device that we use on every single patient who comes through the door. So thank you very much. These questions keep coming up. Dr. Meghpara, so do you have a case particularly memorable when utilizing the Pentacam, and why?
So I definitely need a new headshot. I don't look like that anymore. The hair's totally different. But I would say what's most memorable to me is when I started using the Pentacam for something new, right? We know about keratoconus, we know about LASIK screening, refractive surgery screening, and this was a byproduct of the work of Sanjay Patel and Keith Barrett's out of Mayo. And I started using it to examine patients with Fuchs dystrophy. That's something the Pentacam is not really known for, right? But looking at the tremendous amount of data that comes from this machine, looking at the pachymetry maps, looking at certain patterns, looking at the posterior cornea, not for elevation, but for depression, we can pick up early signs of Fuchs dystrophy, and this has really changed the way I offer corneal transplantation in these patients. We offer endothelial keratoplasty based on what we see on the Pentacam. And that's something that's new. I think that's going to be, at least for EK surgeons, a really important metric that we use and a really important use for this device. So it just goes to show you the amount of data that's being produced by one scan, and I think we're going to come up with even newer things to look for. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of my most memorable experience with the device. And I think I've got the pleasure of introducing our last speaker, my friend and mentor to all, Dr. George Waring. George? So you don't get a question. You get like a fill in the blank. So please complete the sentence. For me, my Pentacam is.
Essential. I couldn't do it that easy. It is essential. It is the workhorse in our practice. It's an all-in-one device that we really couldn't operate without. And for my extraordinarily respected colleagues that you heard from tonight, it helps us as corneal refractive surgeons and lens refractive surgeons to have full diagnostic control of the entire eye. It allows us to educate our clients, and in ways that we can't do with any other technology. And so we're deeply indebted to the engineers, to their unwavering willingness to innovate and to collaborate. And you've heard that over and over. So congratulations. Here on 20 years, here's to 200 more, because I think we're just getting started. So.
All right, I'm going to close just with a quick little story. Last night, someone asked me, well, how's Pentacam influenced my practice? And it got me to thinking. They asked me, how many Pentacam scans have you actually looked at in your career, 20 years of looking at Pentacam scans? I stopped counting at 50,000. So I probably spent more time looking at Pentacam scans than I've had with my kids in Little League. So that probably tells you how impactful the Pentacam in my life has been. But I just want to thank everyone here from Oculus, because without every single person here, we couldn't have achieved what we're achieving now and what we'll achieve in the future. And all my speakers tonight, thank you so much for agreeing to come up and not embarrass yourself. I really appreciate it so much. And thank you all for coming to the reception. And let's start the party. DJ Jeff, let's take it off and let's go.